Hey everybody, and welcome to Alan's Bonsai. Today I want to give you an update on this Neea buxifolia that I posted the video of me trimming this tree on the 11th of January, but that video was actually taken on the 22nd of September 2023. I just didn't start my channel until the 1st of the year. And in that video, which I have a link below where you can watch that video, I really chopped this guy way back. And since it was September and we're going into fall, this guy really hasn't grown all that much because Neeas are a very tropical tree. They love heat and humidity and rainfall and lots of fertilizer, and then they go crazy. So there hasn't been that much growth, but there has been some. So if we look, we can see right here, there's two pieces of growth. Neea is also a plant that grows with very thin branches to begin with. And if I let these two just elongate in another month or so, they could be out, to here easily. But I don't want them to grow at all because I want my canopy to be round, like that. So those come off. Then we've got some growth here, and I'm actually going to wire this guy down. So this growth here, typically when you're trying to do a branch to get ramification, you don't want anything going down, and anything that's going up you want to shorten. Not necessarily cut it off entirely, but just shorten it. Then we have these two branches here that also have some growth coming out of the tips. So I'm going to cut those and cut this. And then we have some other growth that came from the trunk. So there's this piece right here. If I can swing the camera around. See, this piece right here is coming from the trunk in exactly the same spot as this branch. So we really don't need that piece because we've already got the branch there. And actually when we look at this branch, I'm going to take this guy way down too. And then probably the most important piece of growth that emerged from the trunk is this little tiny little piece right here. Because in the last video, I always pondered whether I should keep this really low branch, but this little guy right here, even though it's on the inside of a curve, which is typically not what you want to do, this, if it grows to fill this empty void, I talk about having space between the branches, but this is just a giant void. This will fill in that void beautifully, perfectly. It's really perfectly placed to create a second branch. And then the more I look at this tree, the more I'm thinking that this bottom branch here is probably just going to go. Just take it off entirely. That's for a later date. There's two more things I want to do. Well, it's the same thing but with two different branches. I want to wire this guy and this guy. Because once again, in the last video I showed you how they're parallel branches, and parallel branches just doesn't look good to the eyeball. So I'm going to wire this one back and this one forward. And then I'm also going to wire this guy down just a touch. And I think I'm going to take a little bit more off the top too. Feel like a barber. A little off the top. So, to do the wiring, I'm going to put the camera on the tripod and do the wiring. So, time to pause and wire the branches. So I'm going to start with these two branches right here. And I have my piece of wire, and I'm going to start by wrapping it around, starting in the middle and having it pretty much in the middle of the wire too. and then just begin to wrap it around and come up. And when I'm wiring, I don't want my hand to be in the way. I want the branch to be facing me. That's the easiest way to see where it is you're going with the wire. You don't want to crush any existing branching, and it's just easier to wire with the branch facing you. And also when I'm I'm not trying to move the branch at all. Wire first, then manipulate the branch. Now when I'm coming across here, I want to save that little guy here. This guy is very important, so I don't want to crush him. I want to avoid him, because that would be a disaster if I lost that little guy that I want to promote. And then back around here. And I wire at a 45-degree angle, or as close to it. Wiring at any other angle, either really close together or really far apart, isn't going to give you the results you're looking for. Just won't hold. Okay, so there's the wire. Now I'm going to bend. So this one, I want it to go back. And whenever you're wiring, and whenever you're bending a branch, have your thumbs or your fingers in the place where you're bending, so that if you do start to have the branch break, you can feel it. So that's pretty good. And then I want this guy to come forward about the same angle. Okay, so that's pretty good. And now that this branch here has come forward, we have a whole bunch of growth here that's actually not too far forward. So I'm going to shorten that. You want to create a pad, kind of like fingers coming this way out. And this guy's got a little swoop that, I guess it's okay, needs to fill in here a little bit too. But I've got growth here that can do that. So now I'm going to wire this guy. And when you're choosing your wire, you want to choose a wire that's just a little bit stronger than the branch that you're bending. This is a really old piece of wire because it's lost the copper coating. And when you're choosing the length of the wire, you want to go about 1.5 times the branch. So 1.5. So this wire is a little bit long, but that's okay. I can just start down here. Because as you wire, you're obviously coiling the wire, and it loses some length as you're doing that. So I need to turn the tree around because I want the branch to be facing me. Come up, come around. It's a quiet morning. Since I'm outside and I live in suburbia, sometimes you hear ambulances, sometimes you can hear the train, sometimes you can even hear the highway. I live pretty close to an interstate. Alright, so that looks good. So now let's bring him back around and get to the other side. And and put them into place. So right about like that, I think, is pretty good. Alright, so this tree's coming along. I don't like this swoop because none of these other branches are swooping. So I'm going to wire the rest of this branch with a much thinner piece. And this happens a lot where you use a certain thickness of wire at the base of the branch, and then you use thinner wire at the ends, because obviously the branch itself has become thinner. And when you're wiring a new piece of wire onto a branch that already has old wire, you want to go 2 revolutions back and begin the new wire. Don't crush those leaves. There we go. Okay, so now 2 revolutions back usually is perfect to secure the wire the way you want it. Okay, just get rid of the swoop. Well, it's not perfect, but there's always time to change it. But that's looking pretty good. Let's try to get him back in the center. That's looking pretty good. So that's about it for this video. And obviously, you know, when I look at this tree with my eyeballs, it doesn't look anywhere near as sparse as it does in the camera. I'm looking through the camera saying, man, this is just like a stick. It's like a Charlie Brown Christmas tree. But it will develop, and I think this is going to be a really cool tree. I'm looking at some other stuff, like the apex could probably be wired like that to create the curve. So here's the tree with the apex wired. And for now I'm going to leave the lower left branch. It could still work as part of the design of the tree. And then again, it's probably not necessary. That's the beauty of bonsai, is you can choose if you want to keep a branch or not. It just really all depends. And then the small branch that's coming from here is really going to help this tree when it fills in here. And then there's also space up here that needs to fill in, but we've got growth up in here that can move into that space too. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. And this is the second in a series with this tree. And I've got the first video featuring this tree in the description. And then the next time I work on this tree, there will be a third video, and then a fourth, and then over time you'll be able to watch this thing develop. And that's my plan with every video I take. All the trees that I feature, I'm going to try to give you sort of the life story of the tree, I guess. And that's going to help me too, because you're going to see in the next few videos that I have so many trees that are just leggy and overgrown, and it's just from not keeping up on them. So now that I'm taking videos and I've got you watching, I'm going to be a lot more conscientious about keeping my collection in a little better upkeep. So thanks again for watching. If you like this video, please give me a like and leave a comment. What do you think? I'd love to hear from you. And I know, I'm always fearful that my video quality is not up to par, but at this point, this is kind of where I'm at. So leave me a comment either way about styling or video quality, or if there's a topic you'd like to see, or anything. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.